So we should be okay to just, like, talk.
I'm weak.
I'm weak?
I'm weak things. Even though
I'm wheat thins.
But I can't meet.
Me neither.
Evenflow.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Hi, welcome back to the Chat Podcast. I'm Nolan.
And I'm Amber.
And today we're here to talk about,
Incels. I don't know. That's not true.
You want to talk about incels?
No.
Who do you think of our group as an incel, if you had to guess?
You.
You think me? I have a girlfriend.
And?
Still an incel. Imagine having a girlfriend.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, having a significant other and still being an incel.
Yeah.
You're like on
They're
Reddit
just
every
so
day.
unattracted to you.
You're fine. Like they're attracted to you. Like you guys are dating and all that, but you're just like, I am an incel.
You just can't leave the mindset of incel.
You just can't. Just ungrateful, really. I guess is what it comes down to.
God.
How are you, Amber?
I'm here. I'm alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a good nap? Did you get a nap at all?
I did not nap. You napped.
I napped.
You had a good nap.
Yeah, what did you do while I was napping?
I was trying to make alterations to this dress I got, which I love so much. It's so cute. But it's too tight in one spot, so
Oh, okay.
I'm giving it some more give. And then I will be able to wear it and slay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I choked on my tongue while I was sleeping.
Oh my god.
Benadryl is one hell of a drug. I'm apparently a baby with no tolerance to Benadryl because I had that one Benadryl. I did. I woke up. I was like, you had to start automatically breathing again, and then I rolled onto my side and I was fine. But apparently Benadryl makes me so sleepy that I would just
Oh my god.
I'm like an animal. I would choke on my own spit and die.
Poor thing. I didn't know that. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm alright now. I'm glad I woke up.
Jesus.
So you've been in town for a day or two now, and you finished your semester of school.
Yeah, I'm very eepy.
Yeah.
Very eepy.
I feel like when it comes to photography stuff, I usually come to you with questions just because you know a lot about lighting and film.
I try to.
Shit like that. All that dumb bullshit, you know what I mean?
All that dumb bullshit that I'm getting a degree in.
Yeah. Now, when did you start to become obsessed with photography? When did it start to become a thing that you were into?
I don't know if obsessed is the right word.
When did you start having this sick obsession with it that you have?
When did you get really gross about it?
When did you get real nasty with your photos, huh? What led to this road of perverse hobby that you have?
So, back in community college, I didn't know what I wanted to do really per se, but I knew that I loved art in general.
Yeah.
I had always wanted to try photography. That was always something in the back of my mind, but for me it was one of those things that I thought it was too big for me. I wouldn't ever truly understand it.
Yeah.
You know, how the good photographers how they do it, you know?
Yeah, because they make it look effortless.
Exactly. And so I was never really wanting to try it, and because I always thought that I was not gonna be able to figure it out type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've done that with quite a few things in my life, but I've learned how to branch out since having tried photography.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the situation, and so I just went to go get my liberal arts degree from community college. And I took a photo class with Anne for the first time in my first semester at community college. And I was like, oh my god, this is fun. I like this. What other kinds of photography is there? And I ended up actually not taking another photography class for 2 more semesters. And I was I hate not having photography in my life, and I hate not doing this.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a little sus. So I took photography 2, and then 3, and then other classes that had to do with photography. And I was like, okay, this stuff makes sense. Like, I learned Photoshop and, like, Illustrator, and, like, I learned, like, graphic design stuff, too. And I was gonna get my graphic design degree, like, my illustration design degree at, U of A when I went, but then I was like, I don't like this anymore. I'm like, I miss photography too much.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's nice when you have that moment of like, oh, this doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Maybe I could do this forever.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful moment, I guess. It's something that happens like once, maybe twice in a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. Do you ever feel like the threshold to get into like photography industry is too high? Like, do you feel like the...
What do you mean by that?
Like, suppose you wanted to get into like filmmaking.
Okay.
You start to see all the behind the scenes stuff and whatnot, and it makes it look like an almost impossible task because there's a million people doing a million things, and you have to have all these connections to like get into it. Usually, do you feel like photography is kind of the same way? Like, do you feel like to be like a pro photographer, it's kind of a high threshold to get into it?
I feel like not necessarily, especially nowadays. Maybe that's how it was back then, but I feel like more so nowadays, like, you can do your own stuff, like, on the side, not even as like a professional photographer, and like post your shit on Instagram and get like money through Instagram, like, and just make it like a side hustle if you wanted to, or you can like just do it as a hobby as well and like make like more artistic stuff that's like, not saying that like Instagram stuff isn't artistic, but I mean like more conceptually artistic stuff, and do that on the side and like end up in museums if you like really actually put your skills to work and like nurture those skills and like keep using them and like keep putting them into your work, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can like build your portfolio like in college or just on your own and keep building your skills and then like go out into the world and be like, hey, this is my credentials, and you start working as like either an assistant to a photographer or like a lighting assistant or like something of the sort, like something to just get your toes in and like get some stuff under your belt, like some experience.
Yeah.
That's what my friend's currently doing, and he's been in like a couple magazines now. Like his work has been in a couple magazines.
That's good for him.
Yeah. So it's definitely possible.
It's doable.
It's definitely doable for anybody, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Whatever your goal is, you know?
I feel the same way. I feel like we're in that age where it's definitely easier to get spotted just because you do have the internet to post your stuff. But I also feel like there's this kind of illusion going around. I don't know if you've noticed this. I don't know when I kind of like noticed this. That's a lie. So recently I was talking to my friend Steve about this because I was watching a bunch of like behind the scenes stuff of like filmmaking, you know? And I was watching the behind the scenes for I want to say like Star Wars Episode 7, like one of the new Disney ones.
Yeah.
And I was comparing that to the filmmaking behind the scenes of like Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, back when it was still in the hands of George Lucas, you know? And it feels like things are very like glamorized now when behind the scenes stuff happens. Like you'll watch the behind the scenes for let's say The Last Jedi or whatever, and it's like Kathleen Kennedy and all the producers and directors, and they're like, it was such a magical time on set. Like we got there and like Finn got on set and like he was just glowing and like we knew this was going to be perfect or whatever. And then you watch the behind the scenes for like Star Wars Episode 1, and it's like a bunch of people in a room like with like 50 sketches of like a starship, and George Lucas comes in and he's like, yeah, this is pretty good, but yeah, I don't like that. And they're like, oh, well, okay. And then it cuts to them and they're like, we have 10 hours to make like 3 more models of this spaceship, or like in order to get it into production. They're like, we have like 4 months to wrap on filming. And they're like all stressed and they're like running around and stuff.
God.
I don't know. And I feel like it things get glamorized a lot more than they used to. Like that realness of like what it's actually like to be there and to make stuff kind of makes it feel like the threshold is a little harder to get over, you know?
Yeah, that's totally understandable.
Do you feel that way? I don't know. Have you? I don't know. That was just like a weird thing I noticed the other day.
I mean, I definitely understand like where that perspective is like showing through. I personally haven't experienced it so much myself. Well, I don't know. It's kind of back and forth. It depends on like your surroundings, honestly, and like what you're throwing yourself into.
Yeah, I agree. Like that that one
I feel like
guy.
filmmaking is definitely way more intense just because it is like an entire crew.
Yeah, and
that
they're all
you're
like,
dealing with.
they're all doing little jobs, different little jobs, you know.
Yeah. I feel like photography and like videography is a little bit different. I mean, in videography it can get more complex. I mean, photography as well, because there are people that specialize in lighting. There are people that specialize in like movement and versus like still life or like studio photography, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for like videography and stuff, there's like the sound people, the lighting people, the costume people, the makeup people, you know, like there's all those other things too.
Yeah. If you're ever feeling like you can't get into movie making, just watch the behind the scenes for like the Star Wars prequels and you'll realize like, oh, these people are humans and they just started out like at the same level I'm at, and like they also have no idea what they're doing, but they made it work somehow.
We're all just winging it a little bit.
Yeah. It's really funny. There's like one behind the scenes. This doesn't have anything to do with that. You ever seen the behind the scenes clip of like George Lucas and they're talking about like, oh, we like cast like this little boy to play little Anakin in episode 1, and it's like the first day and they're like in like his like house on Tatooine, and the line is he's supposed to go Coruscant, like to ask like what the planet name is, and George is like, action, Coruscant, cut, and he like gets up and like leaves the chair and like leaves the room.
Oh my
gosh. It's like the funniest clip. It's like so funny to
Coruscant.
Coruscant? Cut. See ya.
Oh
man.
my god.
I remember getting so obsessed with like just fucking like everything like Star Wars related when
fucking everything Star Wars.
fucking everything, because like they came out when I was a little kid or whatever. I remember being like obsessed with that and like movie making at the time, because it was like, oh, look at all this cool like bonus material, like they're just doing this shit on green screens, like, oh man, we could do this or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember like getting like obsessed with anything like that as a kid?
Honestly, no.
You didn't get like obsessed with things like that?
Not like behind the scenes and stuff. Like, not personally. I feel like when I started getting a little bit older, I did. Like, I was like, oh, like, there's people behind these things that, like, make all these things. Like, I think claymation was probably, like, my first area that, like, got me interested in, like, making things. You know?
Yeah.
Versus just, like, drawing and, like, art and, like, painting and, like, the traditional stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my god, you can, like, make sculptures. You can make worlds.
Right.
Like, you can make everything.
I think I've said it on here before, but like I had like a Gumby DVD as a kid that we watched over and over, because I was like,
I fucking love Gumby.
Gumby's so cool. Gumby's awesome.
Yes.
The fact that Art Clokey and this team just made like these little films that were just made, like, I mean, it must have taken them like 9 months to make these little like 10-minute films, and it's just so creative. I love all the little worlds in Gumby.
So good.
I remember the one I watched all the time. He goes to like a music land. They always had these weird like, I don't know, it was like a weird feeling to Gumby. Like all the sets were really weird. It was like this big colored void that just stretched on forever, and there was just shit like laid out. It was like walking through like a.
We didn't think anything of it. We were like, yes,
yeah,
more.
It was like walking through like a weird empty mall or something, and Gumby's just there, and he's talking to the little saxophone people or whatever. Yeah, I remember.
I love the music one. Is that I don't know if it's the same one, but it was definitely on the same DVD. It was like, he like goes through this void of just like all these different shapes and like colors and stuff. It might be the same one, because I remember it being like synced with music or something.
It could be, because there's also, I remember the other one that was on there was Gumbasia, which was that was like the precursor to Gumby. Before he made the character Gumby, it was just like a little stop motion short film that Art Clokey made that was just like clay and it was like unfolding and changing shape and just like morphing and stuff. There's another one he did. I think it's called the Clay Peacock. I'm gonna have to find it now, but it's one of my favorites. Something about claymation is so cool.
It's so cool. God, it's always had a soft spot in my heart.
Have you ever? Because you love Wallace and Gromit. You love Wallace and Gromit.
I do like Wallace and Gromit.
Did you have Wallace and Gromit as a kid? Because I did not.
What do you mean?
Like, did you have Wallace and Gromit like when you were a little kid? Like, did you
Did I watch it when I was little?
Yeah. When did you watch Wallace and Gromit? Like, when did you discover it?
I don't know. I was young. My parents definitely put me on it. Like, it's an older show, so they put me on it. I think Chicken Run was probably the first like Wallace and Gromit thing I was introduced to, because it came out like not too long before I was born. I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. And then like Shaun the Sheep, and like. Then I just started watching Wallace and Gromit too, and it was like,
I
never looked back.
I watched Shaun the Sheep when I was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
And I like Wallace and Gromit, like I knew they existed, but I like had no interest in them. And then like 3 or 4 years ago, I finally watched A Grand Day Out and was just like, oh my god, like this is the best thing ever. It's just like, it's all just like British humor, and they're like, he lives in like a cute little cottage core house, and then they go to the moon. It's great.
Yeah, I think that Wallace and Gromit for me was when I was like a little bit older too, like probably like around 12-ish.
Yeah.
Definitely Chicken Run and like Shaun the Sheep were when I was younger, because you didn't have to understand it. You just,
Yeah.
you just watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, claymation is such a time-consuming. Like, what a hard medium to work with.
For
like,
real.
It's so much work for like. I mean, the results are always fantastic, 9 out of 10 times. But like, just what a hard medium to work with. Somebody had to really sit down and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make Fantastic Mr. Fox, and it's going to hurt to make this movie."
It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt because I'm just moving this stupid little puppet like maybe 100 times in a day if I'm quick enough. Like, you get to the end of like a day and I bet it's like you have like 2 seconds of film.
Literally,
you know, it's like
at most.
It's so time consuming. It's ridiculous. I totally see.
I don't even, like, is it just like one guy that like does the moving?
Oh, stop motion.
My question is, because I don't like look at the behind the scenes stuff so much as you do, but so is it usually like just one person works on a scene for like a good amount of time until it's done, or like trade off to someone, or is it like multiple people are like in here doing certain things within the scene, like making sure that this plant moves because the wind is blowing, and like this person is making sure that his right eye is blinking or something?
I think there's usually like one person who operates the camera, and there's a person who does the actual animation for like, I think it's you. From what I've seen on behind the scenes of like Chicken Run and Fantastic Mr. Fox, it's usually one person per character. Okay. So like one person will be working on just like, you know, Fox's movement, and somebody else will be working on like his wife's movement or whatever. Gotcha. For like a scene. And
that makes sense.
But every time you see it, it's like time lapse. So it's them like moving like 1,000,000 miles an hour, you know.
Yeah, so you never really see whose hands are what.
Yeah, I'm sure after a while they trade out. Like if they're midway through a scene and they have to wrap for the day, they have somebody else come in the next day who's like can use it or whatever. Yeah. They're really good at that, you know. It's their job to make it all look fluid and match.
Yeah.
With great results. I have not the patience for stop motion anymore.
God, I've never tried it personally. It's another one of those things that I feel like I don't fully understand enough.
Yeah.
But I have a huge admiration for it. So
I was obsessed. I was telling you about that like subgenre of like video game reviewers on YouTube the other day. The other subgenre I was obsessed with at the time was Sonic stop motions. Around like 2010, like a little into like the early 2010s, people became obsessed with making stop motions of Sonic stuff. Because they were like super abundant for some reason.
Yeah. Because
there was this one channel called Sonic Toast that made like a series, and then pretty soon everybody started making series, and then there's so many Sonic stop motions online for some reason. I wonder
So
if it.
weird.
I know, right? I
Like
wonder.
Sonic out of all
I don't know why.
things.
I think it was just a similar interest group thing. For some reason, kids that were into Sonic were into claymation and vice versa. So
Interesting.
everybody got into
The pipeline is real.
everybody got into stop motion. I remember getting like hyper obsessed with like that. I think I made a few. I'm
sure you did.
I'm gonna have to dig them up. I'm sure there's some on like an old hard drive somewhere that'll never be released ever.
Pretty sure I've seen one
Of mine?
before you like started hiding things.
I might have one somewhere on YouTube. I'll have to dig it up. Did you ever get like hyper obsessed with like a weird fandom like that?
I've never been hyper focused on like stuff like that. I mean, there's like fandoms that I've been a part of and stuff, but I've never been like the crazy girl,
Yeah.
you know?
No, I get you.
Like
I would like find something as a kid that I liked, and I would just like obsess over it until eventually I would like move on to the next thing. Like
it's the tism.
it's not the tism. It might be the tism.
It's definitely the tism.
I don't know if it's the tism. I remembered this like in like a hot flash not too long ago, but there was this book series I would read. Yeah, I was going through menopause not too long ago, and I remembered this book I read called Pinocchio Vampire Slayer.
What?
And it was Pinocchio, and like Geppetto was killed by vampires, and it was in like a Mike Mignola style. Like it looked like Hellboy comic books where everything's like all the shadows are just like black, you know, just like completely black. And what he would do, it was kind of like a dark comedy. He would tell a lie, and then he would break his nose off and use it as a stake to kill vampires. And for whatever reason, as a 10-year-old, I was like, this is the coolest idea ever.
Honestly, I also would have ate that shit up.
It's a really weird book. I'm gonna have to see if I can find it now, because like I don't know if anybody else ever talks about it, but I found that when I was reading like Captain Underpants.
Actually, this reminds me, there is like, I definitely went through like phases of movies that I would be into.
Yeah.
So as a child, I probably should not have been so into the Brothers Grimm as I was, but I was. You know, the one with like Heath Ledger, may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that one I was obsessed with it for a solid like 3 years.
I still need to see that.
I loved it so much. I have it on DVD. It is in my room currently, actually, here.
One of these days, I'm gonna watch it, I guess. It's like it's funny though, watching it, my little sister. She's currently getting into Lord of the Rings right now.
Yeah.
Which is funny. She loves the books. My dad read to her The Hobbit and like all 3 Lord of the Rings books, right? And she loves them.
Wow.
But also she's 10, so she's afraid of watching the movies.
Oh.
so she
Poor thing.
loves the books, but she can't watch the movies.
She'll get there. And
Yeah.
when she does, she'll be so happy about it.
But she's been telling me about Lord of the Rings. She'll be like, "Did you know that like Gandalf's real name is Mithrandir?"
You're like, I have no idea. That's so cool.
That's great, kid. Cool. It's just cute to see her like be so into it, you know?
Yeah, that's adorable.
I never.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like I missed out on Lord of the Rings because like I didn't read them as a kid. I still haven't
Neither
read
did
them.
I.
read
Neither have I.
I read The Hobbit. I really love those movies, but yeah, I need to read the books still. They're like down on my list of things to read. Are you reading any books right now?
I'm actually dipping my toes in audiobooks. Listeners don't know that I suffer from not being able to fucking read anything and retain anything. Yeah. So, I have been listening to audiobooks, or trying to at least.
Yeah.
I found, like, we had a couple books that, it was actually literally just this semester that I discovered this, but we had a couple books that were required to read for class, and I was like, there's no way that I can fucking sit down and read this 500-page book. That's not much, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It seems daunting.
There's no way. And so I got the, like, audiobook, and it was 10 hours, and I was like, oh my god. So I put it on 2x. 2 times speed, and it was great. It was wonderful. I actually understood it. It was a great book.
Yeah, what was that book called? Do you remember?
It was Toni Morrison's Home. It was really good.
What's that one about?
I don't remember a lot of it, but when Frank Money joined the army to escape his too small world, he left behind his cherished and fragile little sister, C. After the war, he journeys to his native Georgia with a renewed sense of purpose in search of his sister, but it becomes clear that their troubles began well before their wartime separation. Together, they return to their rural hometown of Lotus, where he buried secrets unearthed and where Frank learns at last what it means to be a man, what it takes to heal, and above all, what it means to come home.
Guy comes home from war.
Yeah, but
Cool.
it's like, it's based in, oh wait, no, it was the other one. There was another one that we had to read that was based during the LA, like, riots.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Sounds like a lot. I forget, did you read Dune?
I started it. It's actually on my
Started.
audiobook list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How far are you into Dune? Do you remember?
Not far.
Like, do you remember
like
anything
a
that's
little-
happened?
I'm like 10 pages in.
It's a little dense, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It kind of, I'm like, it's funny when you read these books, like all the weird like technobabble that goes into the Dune books and all the names for everything, because each society has like multiple names for like a single thing, and it boils down to free will good, the establishment bad.
Yeah, government bad.
Government bad, free will good. Dune.
Yo, that's literally every book
I have
that I've ever tried to read.
I have rode the sandworm. Like, what the hell? Anyway, sorry.
But here's the one that's the bees. You can read that.
Flora 717 is a sanitation worker, a member of the lowest castle in her orchard hive, where work and sacrifice are the highest virtues and worship of the beloved queen the only religion. But Flora is not like other bees. With circumstances threatening the hive's survival, her curiosity is regarded as a dangerous flaw, but her courage and strength are an asset. She is allowed to feed the newborns in the royal nursery, and then to become a forager, flying alone and free to collect pollen. She also finds her way into the queen's inner sanctum, where she discovers mysteries about the hive that are both profound and ominous. So it's actually about bees?
Yeah, it's about literal bees.
I think Max wrote that.
Max wrote that.
Max read that. Max read that not too long ago. That sounds pretty cool. I'm midway through the third Wizard of Oz book right now.
Really?
Yeah,
Yay.
they're pretty good. They get better as they go along for sure. Like, it feels like it took until the third one for them to introduce like inner conflict into the group.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my biggest complaint with the first one and like a big chunk of the second one is like Dorothy will be like, well, let's not go down this path, let's go down this path, and the Scarecrow's like, yes, I agree, Dorothy, and the Tin Man's like, yes, that sounds like a good idea, Dorothy, and the Lion's like, I agree, and then they all just fucking do the thing. And they do that for about 150 pages, and then the book is over. But finally, in the third one, you've got characters like Bill, the hen, which is like a talking chicken, and she's like, my name's Bill. Like, you could call me Bill, and Dorothy's like, Bill's not a girl's name. Can I call you Bellina? And she's like, no, fuck you. My name's Bill. It's like, it's great. Or like, there's I don't know, just people actually like complaining to each other instead of everyone just being like, oh, that is a great idea, let's go do this thing together. Also, the third one has like these, did you ever watch Return to Oz with me?
Yes.
Remember the
I don't know if I watched it with you, but yes, I have watched it.
Remember the Wheelers?
The fucking Wheeler monkeys. Oh my god. They
Yeah.
freaked me out for a while.
They're scary in that movie.
Kind of still do.
At first, I was starting to read the book, and I saw the picture of them in the book, and it's like kind of goofy illustration. I'm like, okay, these guys aren't going to be that good. No, the Wheelers show up, and they're like, if we catch you, we're gonna fucking kill you. Like, they
my
straight up
God.
are like, if you come down here, we're gonna rip you to pieces because you stole from our tree.
Oh.
And like, there's just like a lot of talk of murder in this one so far. Like, she goes and meets the princess, her name's like Wilderness or something, I don't know. Anyways, she's got like a head collection,
Yeah.
and she's like, Dorothy, I'm gonna take your head and give you a different one, and I'm gonna have to cut it off though. She's like, oh. She's like, well, you're
Yeah.
going to the dungeon, sorry, kid.
I learned later on in life that Return to Oz is actually more accurate to the books
It
than
is.
regular, like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like how how the movie adapts that story though and makes it into kind of a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it,
is.
that movie could literally just end at Dorothy getting electroshock therapy, and what happens is that switch gets flipped, and she's in Oz because she's getting electroshock therapy. Yeah. Which is why there's like all the imagery of heads and electricity, and there's like a little robot man, and they're smart with that movie too.
Little robot man.
TikTok, he's cool. He's cool in the book too. He's like, they're like, what do you think of this, TikTok? He's like, I have no emotions whatsoever. I could think, but like I do not care. I cannot. They're like, okay, cool, TikTok. He's
Love
cool.
you.
He's cool though. He grabs one of the wheelers by like the head and just like beats the shit out of him.
God.
He's like, you guys are fucking cowards. Take me to the princess. Like, okay, fuck, all right. It's great.
Oh, he's a badass, is what I'm hearing.
I noticed last time I watched that movie though, the paneling on the electroshock therapy machine, it looks like a little face that kind of resembles TikTok.
Really?
So it's like,
Stop it.
Could it be? No, it's got like two little gauges and like a little mustache looking thing under it. And it's like, could that just be her making up TikTok because of the machine?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, probably, honestly.
No.
Yeah.
Also, the book begins with her just on a boat going to Australia with her uncle, and she's just walking around on the deck during a storm like, wow, this wind is crazy, and then it blows her overboard, and she's like, oh no. She's like stranded at sea, and she's like, oh, that's too bad.
I need to watch it again now that I'm more like a conscious person.
Yeah. It's a good book.
I think the last time I watched the movie, like, the first time that I watched the movie was when I was being babysat. And my babysitter, which was my mom's friend, was like, oh, I have some movies. Here's this one. And I was like, it's not the real Wizard of Oz, though. And she was like, no, but it's like another one. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And so she puts it in for me, and I was immediately traumatized.
What did you think of the darker psychological implications, child?
I was like 9. I was like 8 or 9. Like, I should not have watched that.
What do you think about Dorothy having panic attacks because she's gonna get electroshock therapy, Amber? And you're like,
no. Yeah, it was horrifying.
Dorothy.
Then I watched it again when I was like 14 or 15, and I loved it so much. And then I got like into steampunk a little bit from that movie.
Yeah.
Like into steampunk style and like steampunk movies and stuff. And I was like, fuck yeah.
The movie gets the aesthetic of Oz like perfectly right, because Oz's aesthetic, it's not like medieval, and it's not like super dark or grim like a lot of people like to illustrate it. It's very like set in rural America in a way. A lot of the settings are just based on small towns that L. Frank Baum knew, and a lot of the iconography is things like, you know, you'd see a lion at like a circus in America, so pop a lion in there. It's exotic enough, but it's not like necessarily magical on its own.
Yeah.
Like it's just a talking lion. Just
talking lion.
Still talking lion. Who the fuck cares?
Just a dude.
Yeah. There's a lot of like little talks of like violence and stuff though that are just peppered in there. You're like, oh, like you're gonna like fucking cut that dude's head off? What's wrong with you? There's a part where like in the first one where the Tin Woodman they get attacked by like a bunch of wolves, and he just like, it's like, and then the Tin Woodman cut the Tin Wolfman became mutated. Yeah, the Tin Woodman cut the wolves into little pieces with his axe, and you're like, oh fucking hell, all right.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know his name is Nick Chopper?
What the fuck?
The Tin Woodsman's actual name is Nick Chopper.
Nick Chopper.
They dropped that. I don't remember if that's in the first one. Just in the second one, someone's like, and there went Nick Chopper, and I'm like, who's Nick Chopper? And then like had to Google it, and I'm like, that's the Woodsman? Why have they never called him Nick Chopper before? Or am I just dumb?
Wow, I've never heard that.
Yeah. Probably
That's
just dumb.
crazy. Also, now that we're talking about the Wizard of Oz and stuff, so that was my thing as a kid. Wizard of Oz. I loved the Wizard of Oz so much.
Very cool.
I think you know that, but like I have like dolls. You actually got me one of the dolls.
Yeah.
I have like dolls of them, and like everything. Like, I have, like, the VHS, like, I have, like, a license plate that has, like, Dorothy on it, and, like, Toto.
Yeah.
I was Dorothy for, like, 6 years straight for Halloween. Like...
It's cool.
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz is awesome. That first movie is legitimately fantastic. There's a reason it holds up so well.
Yeah, I need to read them.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
You can borrow my book at some point if you want. I'm almost done with it. Next time you come down, like, you definitely take it with you.
Cool,
I should be done with it by then.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read Wicked. I read oh my god.
I read Wicked.
I read the Wicked trilogy. I read like half of the Wicked trilogy as like a 12-year-old kid. And it was good.
It was good.
Yeah, I read like the first book. I found it at a yard sale one day, and I was like, "This is not the Wizard of Oz.
This ain't it.
This is not the Wizard of Oz. What is this?" And then I was like, "Oh my god, it's like a whole other thing, a whole new world." And though none of it's like canon, it's basically fan fiction for the Wizard of Oz. It's still really cool to like see.
It's from the Wicked Witch's perspective, right?
Yeah, it's really cool to see like the Wicked Witch's perspective, like portrayed as Elphaba, and like her air quote, her whole story. Like I mean, I think it's pretty canon at this point because most people consider it canon, but like
It's like it fits in enough that it doesn't contradict anything, so it might as well be.
Yeah, it's like very agreed upon at this point that like Wicked is like her backstory.
Helpful fan fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's glorified fan fiction, sue me.
I do want to hear more about that at some point. I need to read that once I finish
I have the
this.
first book and I have the second book. I don't have the third book. I never got it because I never finished the second book and I never gave it back to my teacher. Sorry, Miss Doc.
That was something I appreciated about the Oz the Great and Powerful movie, the newest one, was that they kind of humanized the witch a little bit more. I mean, not that she needed to be.
The Mila Kunis one, right?
Yeah. Not that she needed to be, because I mean, the witch is kind of awesome just being like fucking evil and being like, I'm gonna put you in a pie, you stupid child. Look at my flying monkeys, you idiot. I'm gonna rip you kids apart. Like, I don't know. She's just cool.
I forgot about that one, honestly.
Yeah. I could talk to you about Wizard of Oz forever now that I'm like into it.
We could definitely do a whole other episode about it.
We'll do another episode later. To be continued. Anyways, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.
Listening, rather. Well, I don't know.
Gotta go to bingo.
Both. Bingo.
Bingo time. Bye.
Wish us luck.